Just caught me blowing my nose.
Well, hi, Robin. How are you tonight?
I'm all right. It's weird. I mean, we talked, I guess, last night after or yesterday after we did our live about just maybe doing some impromptu pop ups. And I thought about it. And I often like to do that if I'm restless, like late Saturday night or sometimes even during the day. But I I think, as I said, since I retired, my sleep patterns are totally different. So I crashed earlier tonight, maybe about 8 o'clock, watching TV. I fell asleep, and I was watching this this series, Ancient Aliens. I don't know if you know about that
I
one.
love the series.
And
I,
so
I
just
love Giorgio Tsoukalos.
just before I woke up, I was having a horrible nightmare about aliens and invasion. Luckily, it's almost like I knew it wasn't happening because I was at my parents' house and my mother was sort of reclining or napping on the screened-in porch, and I was there with her, looking out into the street and into the sky and seeing this massive cloud sort of form into like what looked like a floating city, and it seemed to be getting closer and closer. And then this what looked like a little white minivan kind of appeared in the road out in front of our house, and the back doors opened, and these guys got out, these two guys that looked like they were wearing sort of NASA spacesuits, the kind of puffy thing with, with the
Yeah.
helmet and the boots and everything. And it had like a little splash of red and blue somewhere on the shoulder, but I didn't quite make it out. And somehow in my dream, it was the night after New Year's, but oddly, it wasn't cold or snowy out or anything. And I had friends and family and people from other channels coming to visit, and they had gone out to party all night. So they were sleeping in sleeping bags in my old bedroom upstairs. And I went into a panic. I thought, oh my God, they're going to come in the house. Should I wake up my mother? Should I let her sleep? And oddly, I thought, maybe I better let her sleep because they'll come on her in surprise, but maybe they'll keep her unconscious, or, she'll be in more of a panic if I wake her up. So I should just let it go. And then I escaped into the house and like made my way upstairs to my room. And I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do now with 6 or 7 people here lying around on the floor asleep in sleeping blankets. Am I going to try to hide? What am I going to do? I don't know. It was just really, it was interesting, but then it started to turn dark. And I was so glad that I woke up. After I woke up, I go check my email accounts and I see you had sent me a note and asking if I wanted to do a pop-up live. And I thought, yeah, why not? I've been going back
Well,
to,
maybe I'll give you more nightmares.
I thought sometimes when I have a nightmare like that, if I go back to sleep, I usually don't go back into the same dream, but I have had that happen before. I thought, I don't want to do that. When that happens, I usually like stay up for a while, read a bit, watch a TV show or something, and then go back to sleep. So, oh, I see Andrea 54 Hector and Nancy Acrone's Intuition.
Hi, Nancy.
So, hey, Nancy, any shot you'd like to come and join us tonight on air? If so, let me know in the chat. We've got room for one more. I'm actually waiting for M.A. the Gray. I had sort of sent her it's so hard for me to get in touch with people when I want to do stuff like that. She, I don't have her email account, and she only does Instagram, which I don't really do. But I thought, oh, if Thomas and I get going here, maybe she would discover that we're on here, and then I can drop her a message. Anyway, Yeah, I don't know. I haven't a clue what we're going to do tonight. I just thought we would just chat for a little bit, maybe do some readings or talk about tarot concerns or not concerns or decks or I don't know. Is anything on your mind when you said, "Hey, are you up for a pop up?" Was there anything that you were thinking you would like to do, or
Well, we sort of did a exploration of the swords yesterday in the live, and
Mhm.
uh, maybe if we finish up that suit.
Oh, you want to talk more about swords? Okay, let's see. I actually pulled out a bunch of decks that I haven't used much that I thought were problematic. I might use them if we do any readings later just to see how they work or what they do. But let's look at swords.
I'm gonna have to rely on you for chat because I'm totally on the telephone tonight. So I'm getting the computer up. That's why I'm further back.
I thought you meant for talking, but you mean for looking at the chat room, right?
Right. Yeah. I just see us and the mic and cam codes controls.
Oh, Nancy says she's in bed and not dressed and she's going to pass, but she enjoyed our last live so much that you and I did. So that's nice. I well, the first card at the bottom of my deck here is the Queen of Swords. So maybe you want to pull that out of your deck and we can think about that. I'm just going to double check back and see. No, I think MA is out of commission for the evening. We'll see. Um, so I'm looking at the Queen of Swords. She always kind of gives me a little bit of trouble. She's positioned to look forward into the future, and she doesn't have the most pleasing of expressions on her face. She has sort of what they often refer to as resting bitch face. It's sort of, I would say, on the crabby side. But I wonder why. Maybe she doesn't really want to be overly engaging or encouraging to people seeking her advice or her command. There is on the throne underneath her a little cherub that looks a bit apprehensive, sort of like mom's sitting on me, and she's not a very encouraging mom. She doesn't seem to want to let me have my way, let me open up my wings and fly. Everybody in the chat, if you have a Queen of Swords you want to pop open to look at with us, you can add to. The clouds in the back are sort of like rolling and rumbling, like, ooh, is it about to storm? There is blue sky above, but they're pretty close down to the ground. And some of those black trees in the back seem like they're being blown by the wind or the oncoming potential storm. Oh, and she's got clouds on her cloak, too, which I hadn't paid that much attention to in the past. So there's sort of the notion that she's the bringer of clouds.
Swords. Stormy communications.
Stormy Daniels.
Oh no, you know. I don't think she wants to be known quite like that.
Oh, hello, Jane the Seeker. Hi. You have any observations or thoughts on the Queen there that you want to throw in? It's weird. She's got one arm out like, come here, come closer, come see me. And then the other arm is like sword straight up. Like if you get too close, I'm going to hit you on the head. I think she's sending mixed messages here.
I'm having problems finding her in my Stolar Tarot.
Oh yeah, that'll be a different image. Well, and also in mine from the RWS, her throne is almost against the edge of the card, but it's like in the background there's a hill with water flowing down it, or a cliff, and it almost looks like if she were to lean back in her throne, she might fall off a cliff. So it's not the most secure position. Well, let's see what yours is. Oh, I'm going to bring you closer with the camera here. There. What is she doing there? I'm not sure I can make it out. Is she sitting or standing?
She's standing. She's got a dog in front of her and just one spoon. She got 4 fingers, 3 fingers and a thumb.
What's she doing with her spoon?
She's just grasping it, and it's down by her side. And her cape seems to have the lilies flowers in it. Yep.
Oh, that's different. And the dog, what's the dog doing with her or in relation to her? She looks like she's following the dog.
She's following the dog. She might be telling the dog off. That might be her stormy message.
I was just wondering whether the dog is a companion, whether it's leading her or she's following it. Is she protecting the dog? Is she just she's following his lead, or what's the attitude there in the car?
I think she's following his lead.
But Emma's there. Emma, I'm sending you, I hope, the right link. Emma, if you want to come in, I didn't know how to reach you, so maybe she'll join us. Sorry, go ahead, Thomas.
So she's got a headband of the lily cloth that's her cape, and then I don't know, like a sun protection behind her head.
I'm intrigued by the lilies on the cape, because mine have clouds on them. And it looks like, are those trees or clouds in your background?
The one at her head is a cloud, and the one behind her is a tree.
Okay, yeah. The lilies on the, what do you make of the lilies on the cape? Like I said, on mine it's clouds, which goes really a lot with this stormy notion of the card for me.
Like, lilies are the sign of purity, right?
They are, and
the white rose is a purity.
Yeah.
Maybe lilies for resurrection spirituality.
Mm-hmm. Do you do Lenormand at all?
I don't, but I'm very intrigued.
In the Lenormand, the lilies stands for several different things which don't really make sense to me. One is sort of sexuality, but then it's also purity, which, what, you know? And the one I most often think about is it also refers to elders. So people that are wiser and older or more knowledgeable because they've been around a while.
Maybe that's for this queen. But when you said sexuality, flowers show their sexuality to attract the pollinators.
Oh, that's interesting.
They have their stamens and pollen out there, and usually the pollinators can see something visible in the what do they call that spectrum? Ultraviolet spectrum in the coloring of the flower that attracts them.
Mm. I'm trying to think how, if at all, that relates to the Queen of Swords in that card.
Well, all the queens go to the empress. All the kings go to the emperor for advice, and maybe that's um, like her motherly connection with the empress, because the empress is usually pregnant,
Hmm.
and the the stream in the background represents the birth canal and Mother Earth and those types of images.
You brought up a point there that I was thinking about the other day as to why we have the emperor and empress and all the kings and queens and how they're the same and how they're different. And for me, the emperor and the empress are sort of the mother and father figure of the major arcana. Because we don't have any kings or queens in the majors. So they are basically our kings and queens. Now, that makes you wonder, well, why do we need the kings and queens in the minors? And I was thinking, well, the difference there is that they're suit related and they're also part of a sequence from page, knight, queen, king. So that's different because we don't have a page and a knight in the major arcana to go with the emperor and empress. So I think it sort of speaks of some kind of progression of growth or assumption of power. You know, you start off on the low rung of employment, the errand boy is the page, you know, and then you
Um,
get a
so
little
you might be able to equate the Fool as a
uh,
page of the majors, and then
uh,
I would go with the Chariot uh, to the Knight.
oh, interesting. Yeah, yeah, I could see that. I guess the reason I didn't think of them that way is because they're not right with. Wait a minute, what's after
Emperor,
the emperor? It's the Hierophant, right?
Hierophant, and then you got the either have the uh,
Then lovers and then page. I mean, lovers and chariot.
Lovers, and then you got the High Priestess
Yeah,
before.
before them. Yeah, which I don't think of her as a knight, but anyway,
Um,
it just got me thinking about the positions in their positions and how that there's. I mean, the court cards always feel to me like a, continuity of four cards from page to king. They don't feel like part of the 1 to 10 to me. Um, Generally, when I read by action as opposed to position, though. So I don't usually get into the numerology or their position in the court. I just see what are they doing. But if I take that into account, that adds a little element in there for me of there's this progression from sort of beginning out, starting and working your way up the ladder to position of the king. Although some people argue with me about that too, the king and the queen, it's like the king isn't necessarily the most powerful, even though he's the last one in the sequence. Often the queen is sort of, in some ways, more powerful because, like the queen on the chessboard, she has more ability to move and do things and give orders. The king is pretty much, he's on his throne, he's got his place, it's at the top rung of the ladder. He's kind of constrained by what he can do. Yes, he's powerful, but I don't think his thinking or planning is as nuanced as a queen might be. But you know, that's maybe just me reading into all that.
yeah, well, the picture of the kingdoms that I have is, sort of like the Native American wheel, the north, south, east, west. But
Uh-huh.
in the center, you've got your major arcana. So you got your emperor and empress. Uh, they're over all the realms, but each is an adjacent kingdom. So you have your happy families, your court cards, uh, in each of the four directions, or with the earth, the air, the water, the fire.
So do you associate, do you put all the kings in? Oh no, I'm sorry. You said the emperor and empress are in the middle.
Yeah, so I think of it like the major arcana are the whole of the donut.
Yeah. I mean, we know that there are uh, elements associated with the suits, but I've never thought about them directionally. Do you position them in a particular way?
Air is north. Spring, suit of spring. The wands, where you plant your seeds and grow them. No, that's your coins. So that would be east.
What's south?
So you got air to the north, and then you're going to have earth and water are opposite. Fire and air are opposite. So the wands should be south, right? If I'm putting air as winter and north.
That makes sense.
And then I'd say you reap your harvest with your coins and put those to the west, and put your cups to the east.
Okay. I was just trying to pull out all my swords and my courts to see what I see there. We were talking about the kings and the queens, and it felt to me, I had the impression that the kings are more exposed, or there's not as much going on around them.
The kings will tell you what to do. The queens will show you what to do. They're a little more nurturing, the queens.
Mm-hmm.
As I see it.
I see the queens as, or the kings, I should say, as more inflexible than the queens. Actually, I guess I'm wrong about activity there. The King of Pentacles is loaded with stuff all around him. There's a lot of he's being overgrown by weeds and whatnot. The King of Wands. The King of Wands is looking to the left, and he's mounted on a slab. Where's my King of Swords? Sorry, folks, I'm looking through all my cards, try and find them. The King of Swords is confrontational, I'd say. In fact, he's the only, no, the King of Swords and Queen of Wands are looking at us.
That's confrontational.
Yeah, exactly. The King and Queen of Wands, or King of Wands and Queen of Cups, are looking to the past, and the Queen of Swords is looking to the future.
So you say if they're looking To the left, they're looking to the past, and to the right, they're looking future.
That's generally the way I read it and the way people seem to read it. And I think that probably comes from the notion of how we read the English language. Now, I've often wondered for people that read tarot that whose language goes the other direction, whether that those ideas change for them. If you read from right to left, then your right would be um, the past, and the left would be the future.
And I'm very surprised at my YouTube studio analytics and showing me that 33% of my views are from India and Arabic speaking countries.
That's interesting. What time do you post? That might have something to do with it.
I post at 5 o'clock Central because that starts the new day at the prime meridian.
5 a.m.?
No, 5 p.m.
p.m. So I don't know. I'm really bad at this. I don't know what time it would be in India if it's 5 p.m. Central here. I'd have to look that up on my computer, but it might just be that those are being brought into the arena at a particular time in India where your audience is discovering you.
Might be like siesta time or something like that, or morning. But it,
maybe we could look.
I would think morning, maybe.
Maybe we could look at the king and queen and talk about their relationship. Well, you're looking at something different than I am, but it's funny. In mine, there are clouds behind the king too, but not as many, as if the queen kind of stirs up clouds and the king has sort of cleared them away or risen above. He sits taller in his throne. In fact, her throne is kind of short and squat, and his reaches up to the sky.
So well, both in the Stolar, both of them are
walking.
Yeah, they're not on thrones. She is a little more hunched over than the king.
What do you think? What does that say?
No, those aren't lilies. Those are butterflies. Excuse me. On her cape.
Okay.
Like butterflies. So I guess another symbol of air.
Yeah, butterflies is air. That makes more sense. I'm curious what you make of the idea that your king and queen are walking. Also, it looks like your skies are gray. Like I don't know if the other skies are blue, but is that at night or is it just a dark day?
Well, with my association of winter and growing up in Iowa, this looks like a typical winter sky.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't have to be snowing, just kind of overcast. But the clouds near the ground would signify probably morning time.
Mm-hmm.
And the king's got a raven flying behind him. He's got the same tree. It sort of looks like they've got a volcano as a mountain in the background. Looks like they're in this. Excuse me, with the hands. It looks like they're in the same sort of spot Um, uh, there. See this
Yeah.
rock.
Uh-huh.
So the camera focal length is in a little different spot. She's a little further away in shot,
Oh,
and her rock's a little smaller. But they have the same little volcano over here.
you have any thoughts on the fact that they're both in standing, moving positions versus seated and throned?
Um, it just may be an artistic choice. This Adam Stoller, who illustrated this, he definitely took the RWS, into consideration. But cartoonists like to imply motion as a comic element, stretch and squish and squash and drag, just for movement in something that's a flat object.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of traveling in cartoons. And I think it probably was just an aesthetic choice. But when it comes to tarot, I always think of every little detail as symbolic in some way. And for me, the idea or notion that court cards, particularly the kings and queens, having movement as opposed to in yours, it's all like they're going to the people as opposed to people coming to them. Like if you're on a throne, someone comes to you. If
Yeah.
you're on your feet, you're going to them, which is a very different feel for me for court cards of that level. I mean, obviously, the page and the knight are moving towards something. But
Yeah, and the king's companion is the raven, and the queen's companion is a dog. So the raven might be reporting back about activities in the kingdom. Um, or maybe they're going to England for next weekend's coronation.
Now, I don't know too much about the symbolism of ravens or birds. Well, we know already birds are associated with flight, and flight is usually associated with air and the sword. So that kind of makes sense. It's intriguing to me that the queen has a dog with her. For instance, Queen of Wands has a cat.
Yeah.
Deck what she has. But the fact that she has a dog, dogs are usually symbolize companions. And generally speaking, the queen would be the king's companion. So if the raven is bringing messages from afar, he seems like he's walking or movement in pursuance of or in reaction to the message he's received. And he's walking off the card into the future to attend to something. What that is, we don't know unless you lay out a spread, and the card on that side might tell us. But the notion there for me is that the queen is following the king. Now, why do I think that? Probably just because of the progression. Page, knight, queen, king. Wouldn't necessarily land that way in a spread. But when I think about the sequence of ace to king, the queen is following the king and the dog follows the queen, although in your card she's leading the queen. Maybe they're just walking together.
Yeah, I sort of break up the tarot into three parts: the eights through tens of the minor arcanas and the court cards as another group, and the majors as another group. So it might be interesting to pick out all the court cards and put them together in their respective kingdoms and see what's going on in their kingdom, or what they need to attend to.
Yeah, you also gave me an idea. I actually love majors only decks. I don't know if you have any, or how you feel about that. But when I created my own, it was a majors only deck, and I fell in love with them and feel like I can get everything I need out of a reading with that. So in a way, I agree with you about sort of the three sections there, but it made me think, gee, I should separate out my majors, my numbers, and my courts, and see if I treat them like three separate decks, if I shuffle each one and lay out a spread from each one, how those read. Because tarot's not meant to just read court cards only, but who says, why not? It might be an interesting lesson to see what happens there.
Since we have the courts segregated, it seems to be the people cards. The other cards of the minor arcana, there's two that's missing people, that the Eight of Wands and
no, that's major.
And the three of swords.
Right. Unless you count the aces, but you do have a hand in the aces.
Right. Two are grasping and two are giving in the aces.
Yeah.
One's grasping a sword and one's grasping a wand, but they're giving the coin and they're giving the cup.
4, 5, 6, 7. I have a tray in front of me, and I want to lay out my courts, but I seem to be missing a card. Let's see. King, 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 king. I'm missing a queen. Pentacles. Okay, let me find her. I'm wondering, by what you said, whether I should divide the courts into their 4 separate kingdoms and leave them in order, or should I shuffle them all together?
I would say leave them in their kingdom. The kingdom that you're ruling or reading on, separate those 4, but put the other 12 together and read with those. Yeah. I often wonder, what a hen party might be. Get the 4 queens together, have the Empress hosting them, and they're playing mahjong or bridge or whatever queens do. And what would the talk be? What would the gossip be? Do readings like that.
That's an interesting idea.
And then put the kings together, and what are they concerned about? Is there a flood in one of the kingdoms? Is there famine in another country?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I could get that just from the courts without drawing some of the other cards in.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll see. I mean, there could be a flood because the King of Cups' throne is sitting on water.
Is he embarged?
Is he what?
embarged.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Have a barge or a raft under him?
Yeah,
No.
kind of. The base is thrown, so he's floating on water, and the Page of Cups is maybe giving a little bit of forewarning about the flood. It's behind him, encroaching, but enough that he managed to easily catch a fish and scoop a fish up in his cup.
Was in the fish some subconscious message or Akashic records given by the high priestess?
It could be. I've never understood what the point of the fish was, actually. I always relate it to the fairy tale of the fisherman and his wife. I don't know if you know that one, where this humble farmer or fisherman or whatever, his wife is, they live in a little hovel, and she's always bitching at him, about their situation in life. And he goes out to fish one day, and he catches this magical fish that says, "Oh, if please, let me go. If you let me back in the water, I'll grant you any wish." So he's a kind-hearted guy. He lets the fish back in the water, and he goes home and tells his wife about this. And she goes, "You fool, why didn't you keep that fish? I'll tell you what you do. You go back to that fish and you tell him we want to live in a mansion." Says, okay. So he goes back, he finds the fish. He says, "My wife wants to live in a mansion." She goes, "Okay, go home. It's there." He goes home, and she's still not satisfied. Then she wants to be like the mayor of the town, and he goes back and forth. And then after the mayor, "Oh, I want to be the governor. I want to be the queen, or the empress or whatever." And then finally, it's like, "I want to be God." And then the whole thing breaks. And the fish goes, "Go back to your house." She's back in the hovel, but she's happy now. So it's sort of like, that's the idea for me when I see that, like somehow this page has caught the magic fish and is allowed to be granted some sort of wish. Now, I don't know if that was ever intended when Pamela Coleman Smith did the illustration. Rarely.
Well, the fish is the ancient symbol for Christian, so maybe it's just a Christianity symbol.
But okay, I can accept that if you can explain why it's in a cup. I mean, the cup is emotion, so maybe it's fish in a cup. Does that mean accept Christianity into your heart? I don't know. I always, and I used to look at it and say that he was sort of foolhardy, or that something, I used to say there's something fishy going on that card, because you don't expect to drink from a cup or look in a cup and find a fish in there. And
well, if you ever tasted San Diego water, that's just what you smell in a cup of tap water.
I mean, it doesn't specifically say that the page is the one that caught the fish in the cup. Somebody may have just handed it to him as a trick, like, "Here, have a drink of wine. Oh, there's a fish in your cup. I don't know. It's just that aspect of that card has always sort of confused me. And I tend to sort of read it without the idea of the fish, but I'm not sure what to do with that fish. I bet some people in chat have some answers about that.
I'm going to have to have you see those questions or answers for me, because I still can't see chat.
Kindness and Light says, "Hen party, ladies. Are you going to take that? LOL, we gather in a she shed now."
Yeah, I excuse me. I am a product of a bigoted father.
Hmm. And she also says, like fishing in a barrel, maybe,
Oh, it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
and drink like a fish. That's another. That's the
Oh,
odd. When I started out tarot, I started getting that. Like, what are they called? Axioms or idioms or old sayings that we're familiar with. Like, if a phrase pops out at me when I look at a card, I tend to like run towards that for some reason.
um,
That's kind of a key word or key phrase for me.
Proverbs,
Yeah. Another,
wise tales.
the Queen of Cups always sits there with a cover on her cup, and that always caught my imagination too. It's like if you're
Well,
holding,
she's keeping the secrets of the Empress.
yeah.
I
Uh,
believe so.
I hadn't much thought about it because of the practicality. If you have a cup you're drinking out of, you don't want it covered unless you don't want something going in or coming out of the cup. You don't want, you don't want a bird to poop in your cup and spoil your drink, or you don't want to spill the contents of your cup and lose, you
Well,
know,
that's
pre-
why everybody carries Yetis these days.
carries what?
Yeti, it's a brand of insulated cup with a cover,
Oh,
a little slidey hole for the straw, or just to drink out of.
I have one of those. I didn't know they were called that, and I wonder.
It's just a brand.
Yeah, I can't picture a Bigfoot walking with one.
He's real. I have a lot of woo woo in my belief systems.
Yeah,
He's why we don't see him is he's excellent at knowing where the portals are.
hmm. I think he'd be more apt to be gnawing on that fish than drinking out of the covered cup. The Queen of Cups is sort of on an island of her own. She's got all these colorful pebbles sort of clustered around her feet, and she's just at the water's edge. And if it's a secret in her cup, she knows more about the encroaching water than anybody else, I guess.
Maybe it's the tempest in the teapot.
Maybe. It's intriguing to me. If I go from page to king, the page is at rough water's edge with a fish in a cup. The knight is on a horse approaching a stream to cross to see the queen. But it intrigues me that he's a water sign, yet he's got wings on his helmet and his feet, his shoes.
Mere mercurial,
Yeah. So I guess there's a notion of making haste to.
Mars, Mercury, Mars. No, Mercury is action. Mars is the warring planet.
Mhm. He's not the fastest of knights. The horse looks like it's like going at a reasonable trot to cross the stream to get to the queen. I guess I should be showing these pictures instead of just talking about them.
Well, and then the Knight of Pentacles.
So
His steed is just standing there, and he's offering the pentacle out front. So, is he back from a quest and
well,
offering the king the treasures?
I'm going to get too confused if we go back and forth too much. I'm trying to deal with one house at a time.
No, I'm sorry.
That's all right. But I mean, I would like to address that. But maybe if we go through each suit in the sequence and see what's happening. So, like I said, there's a page of cups in front of the water. He's scooped up a fat fish. Maybe he's given the message to the knight who can get to the queen and king faster by horse. So the king and queen, sorry. So as the knight goes towards the queen, he's crossing a stream. And maybe that's why the horse isn't at full gallop, but more at a trot. He knows he's going to have to cross the stream. Then we approach the queen, and maybe the horse hasn't gotten there particularly quickly because she's already on her throne. She's almost ankle deep in water. And then behind her is the king. He's not only paying attention and looking the other way, but his whole throne is being floated away. So that's a kind of an interesting thing. Sort of like
excuse me.
It's like a comic strip, you know. If you put them in a four-panel window in sequence, you get a story. Now you wanted to do the pentacles. Let me look at my pentacle cards. In the pentacles, we've got the page just sort of standing in a field. It's like he's admiring his prize, that pentacle. Oh, like, look what I found. I just picked a dandelion. Or
is he in front of the plowed field?
the what field?
Plowed?
I never thought of it that way, but it could be. It's an open field.
So maybe that's the seed getting ready to be planted.
It looks to me more like harvest. But didn't you refer before to the pentacles as being harvest?
Fall, yeah. Fall and west.
Yeah, sometimes in the pentacles, it looks to me like seeds to be planted, and other times it's like flowers to be harvested or fruit to be harvested. And anyway, he's holding it up as if to hand off a prize, as opposed to bending down as if to plant it. So that's the way I read it. He's handed off the page to the knight, who's also holding it up over the horse's head as if it's something really precious that he has to deliver, that he's sure not to let drop, let fall. And then it comes to the queen, and he's handed it off. He's arrived and handed it off to her. And she's considering it. She's looking down at this pentacle, considering the prize, the reward, the abundance that's growing all around her throne. And here's one more proof of her kingdom's horticultural skills. And then behind her is the king, who, that's funny, there's more and more foliage as it goes. Well, maybe not in the night, but in the queen and king, the queen's surrounded overhead and at her feet by all this foliage, and the king is almost overgrown in it. It's like he's letting his country get out of hand and gone wild, and it's becoming a bit of a jungle. Sorry, I kind of went on a bit of a ramble there. You have anything you would like to say about the pentacles? Are you okay? Are you still with me there? Oh, you're muted.
I'm sorry about that. I sent you on that fool's errand by mentioning the Page of Pentacles. I'm sorry. I was trying to get my tonight. So the one that's not in motion this night of Pentacles and the Stolar, and just standing there on his steed.
I like that you said fool's errand. It makes me think, is the tarot deck a fool's errand?
It
It starts
I
off.
guess it could be. Yeah, I guess that could be one way to frame it.
That would be a great channel name out for anybody out there that wants to start a tarot channel, to call it Fool's Errand.
I think that was the failed channel I had, was the Fool's Errand, because I did everything as wrong as it could be.
I wanted to say Maruda and Ange are here, and Ange says, I always looked at the fish in the cup in that card as a surprise, like that clown that pops out of the Jack-in-the-Box. The page reminds us to be open to surprises and explore the unexpected. That's good. And then, did you say Kindness and Light? Is that Lisa, did you say?
Yeah, Lisa Rhodes.
She says, maybe you're right, Robin. Give a man a fish, he will eat one meal. Teach a man to fish, and he will eat forever. There is also lead a horse to water, too.
Can you make him drink, though?
All right.
Yeah, I think I should have had my cards sorted before sitting down here. So I have a surface, but it's not.
And Lisa says, well, I see the pentacles as stars or world. He gave her the stars or world.
Does he turn around and give her the moon?
Could be. Yeah, I'm trying to think how I think of those. I mean, other decks refer to them as discs or coins. I wonder why. Why is a pentacle in a circle?
Well, it was a pagan protection symbol.
The circle part, probably.
Yeah, what do they call that? A hexagram or
pentagram? The star is pentagram, right?
Right.
So I guess if you put a circle around the star, it protects you from it. It's the magic circle. I'm not sure. I hadn't really thought much about it. It's, to me, a less explainable or more difficult to understand at first glance symbol than the other three suits, because I see a sword as something aggressive. I see, let's say, on the offensive side. Swords are on the offense. Wands I see as blockers, or on the defense. You know, you put up your wand to kind of block attack from you. You swing a sword to strike. And then when it comes to cups, well, I don't usually think of cups as emotion just on their own, but I guess there's no other way to describe it.
I think of cups more as the loving cups.
The loving cup?
Because my emotions are tied up in those swords.
Mm-hmm.
The hurts.
Yeah, the hurts.
And the sword and speech can cut a person's heart out or soul.
Yeah. I'm going to store that loving cup away in my data bank, because that's another good phrase. that I hadn't come across till now. It works really well. I mean, the only other symbol I can think of that might be more direct in terms of emotions would be a heart. But suppose all the people in the cup suit were carrying or handling hearts instead of cups. How would that change reading of those cards?
Christianity might say the blood of Christ
is in the cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only reason I phrase things in Christianity, not that I'm an ensconced churchgoer, is the first 10 years of my life where I was brought up in the Mormon religion.
Uh-huh.
And being in the Midwest and living in a town that was primarily Catholic and maybe 1/3 Methodist, I was the odd duck.
Gerald's lurking, but he's going to bed. Well, I don't think, considering the time that, I mean, I don't know what Arthur Waite's position was on Christianity, but he's the one sort of backing the original ideas of the deck, and there are elements of Christianity.
There are crosses representing Christianity sprinkled out throughout. The Ace of Cups has the Eucharist with a cross on it.
And Pixie gave this all up to go into religion after she drew the cards. So, I mean, she became very Christian after she'd done the deed, you know. But I usually, I'm not an organized religion person, and I tend to avoid those ideas or meanings when I go to read these cards. I'll acknowledge them, but I won't leave them in the foreground. It's like, for me, that's a background thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's in my past, and I know a lot of people that organized religion serves well, and then I think of half the leaders of our country and a propaganda news station,
Yeah,
espousing that they are when their deeds is when the words they speak does not match the deeds they do.
yeah. I don't think of those people as Christian. I think of them as false Christians. So
yeah.
They can say, you know, they're religious or they're Christian or they read the Bible.
Well, it's a soundbite or a photo op for them.
I don't believe that for a minute. I don't think what they're doing. Now I'm generalizing. You know, I mean, there are people out there that do good things and call themselves Christians, but the ones that we mostly see in power or in the news or on the floor or whatever,
because who follows a more Christian-centered life.
See, the extent of Christianity in my life is I boil it all down to one sentence, which is the golden rule: do unto others as you'd have done unto you. And if I follow that, then all the rest is filler, you know, because there's a lot of conflicting and contradicting passages in the Bible.
I add another thing to the golden rule: love one another.
But, well, I think that's in the phrase that I use, but I mean, it's inherent in there for me, but yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not against personal or private religion or spirituality. I can see where people go to organized religion because they feel like they need some help. They need some other people to help them organize their thinking around religion, or they need people to be with. They need to be part of a group. For me, each person's religiousness or spirituality is their single relationship with whatever their beliefs are. It's like we're born alone, we die alone. It's like that single connection. So for me, in a lot of ways, organizing in groups for religion just doesn't meld with my mind. It's like if you need the support of others, then maybe that's focusing elsewhere than you and your God or you and your beliefs, or I don't know.
Well,
But
you've built like a quasi community here. We're all brought together with the interest of tarot,
yeah,
but it's an inclusive community other than Tarot Destroyer.
yeah.
Uh,
Don't tell me he's in the room.
no, 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 no.
Yeah, no, everybody can do whatever they please. And I don't usually like to get into the topics that divide us. But I mean, everybody's got their own ideas and thoughts. And, I just shared part of mine. But I'm not telling anybody else how to behave.
My two longest relationships, they would say that I was George Jetson because my job was to push a button all day long, and the button I was pushing was theirs.
I'm not sure I follow there. You
A
mean
button pusher, a hot topic.
community-wise or in your
No. In relationships.
relationships? Okay. You're a button pusher. Okay.
Well, they would say that. They would frame it that way.
Yeah.
Just
Maybe
because the two wrong people picked me for those relationships. I didn't do the picking.
okay. You got me wondering if the pentacles are buttons.
Well, well, money's a hot button issue in a lot of couples and relationships.
It's funny too. The King of Pentacles seems to have a lollipop or a drumstick there. It's like he's going to beat the drum about his whole ideas about pentacles. He seems content too. Has a content expression on his face. Like I got money, I'm satisfied.
Yeah, he's got all his materialistic needs taken care of, but is the queen still in love with him? Are they having Congress?
Doesn't look like it. She looks pretty sad, actually. She's looking down at the coin, and I don't know if it's like, I don't have the king, but I got the coin, or maybe she's thinking, how shall I spend this?
Can I get more from him?
Yeah, maybe. Is 1 penny enough? I need more. Yeah, there's no affection lost between these two. Well, speaking of affection, let me look at the King and Queen of Cups, see how affectionate are they?
Well, she's the epitome of beauty.
I think she doesn't kiss and tell because she's the one that has the cover on her cup, right?
Right. She's holding those secrets in and only giving them out in nurturing love to people that she loves.
Yeah, she's sparing with that, with her love. Maybe that's the cover. It's like I've only got so much to give, so let me guard it carefully, and I'll dole out a little bit at a time as needed.
And she'll drink out of her Bigfoot.
her her
Or
her
yeah,
throne her throne also has a kind of a, I want to say cowl, that might be the wrong word. It
Bob
has a
Mackie headpiece.
kind of a shelter over it. And
A Bob Mackie headpiece, for Cher or Carol Burnett.
well, it's protective, like in a cave or something. I guess it's meant to be a shell, but it goes very much with having keeping the cap on the cup, that she's sort of surrounded by her throne and sort of protected.
Is she the pearl in the oyster shell?
Could be. Her gown is white, but she's and it's a flowing gown. The pattern on her gown, it looks to be like waves or tides.
Water then.
Yeah. It's weird because she's protected from the rear, from behind her, but exposed in the front. And that's getting out of control because the water's lapping at her feet. It's weird too. There's a cliff in the background, so it's sort of like, I look at it and I think about her holding that cup, protecting whatever's inside there, and yet it's not fully protected because the water's coming in from the ocean. And if you sort of symbolically look at the background, she may be about to fall off that cliff.
I just realized I don't have my lighting problems quite under control. I have a hot spot over here. I look dewy.
I'm looking at your board game back there of Monopoly and thinking about it in terms of tarot. And oh, sorry, I just jumped to the chat. Cosmic Orphan says it's a rattle, Robin. I think he's referring to the lollipop-like thing that the king has, the king of pentacles.
But so is he the ultimate baby?
It made me wonder if tarot was a Monopoly game, where would you be collecting your money from? Which card?
Well, the king's got the treasury. The miser might only give you money when you pass go.
Yeah, I wonder whether, I guess it would be stealing if you took it from the 10 of Pentacles, that happy family there with all the cash. Oh no, we get the money from the 6 of is it the 6 of coins?
6 of coins charity?
Yeah, the guy, the one doling it out to people. Yeah. There, that's where we pass go and get our $200, I think, for me.
Bags. Okay, this is a project that I did, and my sister-in-law completed because it was one of those projects I gave up like 90% finished. It's a cross stitch.
Oh my gosh.
And so its size is 40 inches by 40 inches.
Wow, I'm impressed. I can't tell from here the detail, but it looks to me like you just took a Monopoly board and mounted it under glass. So, I mean, if I'm that convinced, you did a great job.
It's part of the hoard. I still have several deluxe and heirloom and anniversary editions left from the horde.
Have you ever laid it down on a table and tried to play Monopoly on it?
No, I haven't. And it needs to be cleaned because it was in storage and it's got a little water damage on the bottom.
It looks like its actual size, or did you scale it?
I scaled it exactly. It's if you could fit 4 Monopoly boards exactly
On that?
in there. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So each quarter would be a Monopoly board.
Oh, wow. I'm just seeing it in relation to the size of your head, and it feels to me either you have a big head or a small head. It looks to me like the size of a
18-inch deep dresser behind me. Let's see. I don't. Maybe I better not try to take the camera there. I've got too many things on the floor around me to have a trip that I didn't want. So what's the chat say?
Well, I'm checking it out, and it seems you seem to have brought people into relationships,
Uh-oh.
dealing with relationship problems.
I am the button pusher. George Jetson here.
Yeah, the floor is yours. I don't know what to say to any of that because I've only had very few relationships, and they've been so brief and so long ago that I don't know what to say about it. I have no advice to give. Usually,
I have to have a specific question asked of me, and then I have to throw the cards.
Yeah,
because I can't give you any advice for my relationships because I have blown them up.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any questions, or does anybody have any questions you want us to maybe try a reading with? We've been on for what, an hour and I don't know. Well, we got some stuff out of tonight, I think. Even we didn't come in knowing what we were going to talk about or what we were going to do. We still have a little bit of an audience. I don't know how many are there, but if anybody would like a reading, I think we're both open to that.
This deck's in order, so we'll just have to cut it a million times.
Oh, do you have your shuffler at hand? Probably not.
No, and then I've when we were discussing the families, I broke everything down to the 5 suits.
Is it electrical or is it a hand?
It's battery powered.
Oh.
And you split the deck in half and put it on opposite sides, and there's like a wheel that spins that catches the bottom card and throws it to the center.
You haven't had it destroy any of your decks?
No. Well, there's this is the only deck that I can get to fit in it.
Oh.
I've tried some other tinned decks, but they're too tall. Like they're bridge size instead of poker size.
Uh-huh. Do you ever just do the desktop shuffle where you like spread them around and just?
Yeah, I can do the wash shuffle, but when I have my fancy reading cloth, it tends to grip them. That's why I can do that nice little fan.
I wonder too if you have a drawing bag, like you put shake them up in a bag and draw one out, whether they'd get damaged or not.
Yeah, I've got the tiny tarot, and then I've got some several sets of stickers of tarot cards. And I've been looking for like wood tiles or
Mm,
maybe resin tiles, and then make little domino tiles. But then they would be macro sized, and I'd have to put them up very close to the camera lens to,
yeah,
or I could just pick the corresponding card out of the giant plaid back Rider White.
yeah. There is. I don't know if they're still available or not. I don't know if you know. I think her channel name is Sawyer's Path. Who
Yeah,
does?
about $300 for a set.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very expensive. I
they're
thought it was
beautiful.
in something, but yeah, they are tiles. And Julia Peekaboo Rose recently showed a kind of a do-it-yourself, how to make your own tarot.
I would just need to get in touch with a woodworker and have them cut the correct size to
Yeah.
decoupage the tiny tarot onto.
Oh, I've also seen some that have been wood burned on wood on Etsy, but I don't know if it's a full deck or if it's just 22. Because I mean, obviously, it would make a very thick deck for shuffling, but I don't think it's meant to be shuffled that way.
Well,
But
yeah, you just wash them on top of the table like dominoes or something, I think.
yeah, it's if you have challenges, it's a challenge to find a way to deal with stuff. I had a friend on another channel that was her vision was going, and she was a tarot reader, and I thought, oh, I feel so bad for her. Can we provide some kind of a solution? Because she wasn't in a place yet of like learning Braille, but at the end, she wasn't that far along yet, but it seemed to be going in that direction. I got to thinking, is there some means that she could learn some sort of process and still enjoy doing readings? And the only thing I could come up with is either embossed imagery, where if your fingers are sensitive enough to feel that, or something like dominoes that has little pits in the top, if you go by the numbers or something. And I guess
Reverse braille.
you could kind of do, I mean, if you didn't do dot braille, you probably could do sometimes for shorthand, I'll do like, KS, King of Swords. Or if it's like knight, then KNS, or I guess you could do NS maybe. So you can kind of reduce the tarot to a couple of figures that could be embossed or embedded in a tile. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of creative people out there that could come up with creative solutions for that. But now you have a situation. Do you have inflexibility, or it's just painful?
It's sort of curled like I've had a stroke. I
Uh-huh.
can straighten it.
Uh-huh.
It's double jointed, so it looks weird because I've always been double jointed, so I
Uh-huh.
can flex my fingers backwards. But I was hit by an auto in a crosswalk.
Uh-huh.
Um, I jumped at the right moment and landed nose up against the windshield,
Oh
and
my.
then she panicked and slammed on the brakes and threw me down about 40 feet down the street,
Oh.
where I landed on the side and I stiffed on the pavement with my dominant hand. I'm left-handed, and it did something called translated the hand. It's not an actual broken hand, but the bone on the wrist that's supposed to be near that bone is 3/4 inches away because the whole wrist did this thing.
So
And
can you grip anything in that hand?
I can grip things, but it's a very weak grip. Like
Uh-huh.
if you see me do soda can, I've got a double-handed grip on it so it doesn't slip out.
And
Um,
your other hand's okay?
I'm sort of okay, but I'm diabetic, so I've got neuropathy as well
Mhm.
as uh, and so like I got whiplash, broke the ribs, translated the hand, and did a collarbone.
Mm.
Knocked the wind out of me, and of course there's rib pain associated with the cracked ribs, and uh, I didn't ever think I would get that inhale of breath back into me. Uh,
How
so
long ago did all this happen?
this was the week after Thanksgiving in 2018.
Mm.
I was on my way to work. I'd stopped at the grocery store and got my bread and peanut butter for the week, and lost a pair of glasses in the deal. I don't know where they went.
Mm. Had you been doing tarot before that, or is that something you picked up since then?
Well, when I had the IT job, uh, there was a lot of flying involved, and so I devoured books, and that was just sort of my internet rabbit hole I went down. Oh, let's explore tarot, and I read about 10 books, and um, then one of my coworkers said, "Would you come out to this charity that we have and to our fall bazaar and read?" So that's where I read the 28 rounds of Celtic Cross
Hmm.
uh, on that Saturday, and
Do you read physical books or do you read them on like devices?
I read physical books.
And that's not difficult for you? I
Uh,
mean, my mother
my
had,
my reading has gone to no nil.
okay.
I read forms, medical forms. Okay, sign release.
The reason I brought it up is my mother, as she got older, had more difficulty with her hands and found that a lot of books are bound so tight that it takes a lot of muscle strength to open a book and turn pages and stuff. And I find, when I look at art books or big, heavy books, they get unwieldy. And it's like, oh, that's really tiresome on my wrists and fingers to read those. But I've discovered, and I know there's nothing quite like the tactile feeling of reading an actual book, but I've really gotten into reading on the Kindle app on my phone where I can just swipe to the next page with one finger very easily and see everything, really well. And I read more now than I ever did before because usually there were too many words on a page and I would struggle to get through a page. And now, on the Kindle app, I don't know if there's 50 words, maybe even on a page, and then you're flipping to the next page. And so every book is what you call a page turner, so it's like,
Well, yeah. Then you get that little gratification of swiping.
exactly. I feel like I'm accomplishing something the more pages I turn. Whereas my old books, I couldn't read the classics because, oh my God, the language is so weighty
So
and difficult. And I would be like, oh my God, I'm only a third of the way through the page. I got all this left to go, but on now I've read more of them that way just because I can get through quicker.
So I've got this device which holds my telephone, and I put it around my neck, and it's right at my focal length that I don't need glasses. Um,
But how do you keep the pages open and not flipping or on their own?
it's for the telephone.
Oh, okay.
And then the other ability device that I use when I wear pants and go out in public, usually I'll just put shorts on and put a belt on and not deal with the zipper and the buttons. But there is a device, a button hook that you put through the hole and grab the button and pull the button through the buttonhole. I have a 30-inch waist, but I buy 36-inch pants, so it makes it easier to tug them together
Uh-huh.
and get that button buttoned. And then I always have to wear a belt because the trousers are 6 inches too big, and I have no hips at all. But yesterday when we were talking emotions, and you were talking spoons, getting calories and sustenance into you, and I ate my emotions, and that's why I got up to 305 pounds.
Oh.
So all my my loving cups were empty, and I was trying to fill that void with comfort food.
Uh-huh.
And so henceforth, you pay for the consequences of diabetes when you do that to yourself.
Are you type 1 or type 2?
Type 2. So the sequence of events in 2018, a 17-year relation broke up in May. In July, I went to visit my mother for the last time in the nursing home in Iowa. We knew it was goodbye because she had kidney failure and she was not going to do dialysis. The 26th of October, the doctor put me on insulin shots for the first time. So I left my drunk life because I was drinking heavily and thought, if I'm going to have to shoot myself with a shot every day, I better pay a little more attention to my health. And then the 29th of November, I was hit by the car. So it was like it was a tower moment, a bigger tower moment, a bigger tower moment, and the biggest tower moment. So with the whiplash, I also got inner ear damage. So that's also why I get seasick very easily, because I've got vertigo. And so shortly after I got hit, I was ambulatory. I walked with a limp, but I was ambulatory, and I would just lose my balance and fall over. So from the 29th of October to the next July 2nd, I got weaker and weaker with the hand, because when the hand doesn't connect and it loses its strength and atrophies. And you see the pits between the tendons.
Are you pursuing some manner of rehab?
This one that's broken, all they can do is stabilize it, and then I would lose that motion, flexor and tensor motion. All I would have is grasp.
Hmm.
And since there's no pain involved with it other than the same pain in this hand, the neuropathy, um, the as long as there is no great discomfort with it, there's no use of doing surgery.
Uh-huh.
Um,
But
but
doctor doesn't prescribe any particular physical movement or exercise or anything like that.
no, because of carpal tunnel syndrome, that can't be operated on
Mm,
due to the accident.
okay.
So it is what it is.
Well, I too am a type 2 diabetic, and I found out around 2005 or somewhere in there. And I'm not a good diabetic. I mean, I don't, I guess I'm an avoider. I tend to not let it bother me too much. And I don't really face, what the ultimate consequences might be. But I usually, yeah, I see. Um, what what I found, the only time it bothered me is if my numbers got too low, and so I never got let them get that low. And it didn't bother me that much that they were high, but the doctors put me on a particular course to have a goal number for my sugars, and I don't check them that often. I don't check them multiple times a day. I'll check it once every several days because they pretty much stay in the same area. But I had gotten up to about 285 pounds. And at the moment, I'm hovering somewhere around 234. So some of that came off, and I practiced, I think, what I call the sleep diet, because I wasn't really doing that much to change my eating patterns or exercise. But
you
I,
just did
I
lethargy.
I slept a lot. I nap a lot, and I don't really feel depressed, but I tended to sort of, like, if I didn't have any goals for the day or anything on my schedule to do, I would just sleep. And I slept so much that I found, I think I was sleeping instead of noshing, and the pounds just started to drop off. And then also they put me on certain diabetic medications. I'm on Ozempic, and I think that's supposed to help towards losing weight. So some of the weight loss may be attributed to my using Ozempic once a week. So I don't know. Nobody's quite made enough of an impression on me yet to scare me from certain things I like to eat. But also, I did kind of modify some of my eating habits because I was heavily into uh, pastry type, like breads and cookies and crackers and things. And so, like,
Missing, I'm
sweets,
missing.
sweets and white flour substances. And so when I started to shift to other things that didn't have white flour, or had less sugar in them, that seemed to help. But I also noticed, actually, what made me change is my breathing. I was having a lot of congestion issues, and I think it was due to whatever is in white flour or pastry, whether it's glutens or something, was making it harder for me to breathe. I was always feeling stuffed up, and I still have some congestion, but it's not nearly as bad as it used to be.
Do you also have apnea?
If I do, I don't know. How would you know if no one's telling you and you're sleeping
Well,
alone?
if you can fall asleep immediately when you close your eyes, if within the first 5 minutes after laying down you start dreaming and you wake up and you've only been asleep 5 minutes.
No, I don't have that, but my sleep patterns are different. I used to, well, I've got to work tomorrow, so I got to go to sleep at this hour. I don't do that anymore because I don't got to work tomorrow. So now it's like I go to sleep when I'm tired, which usually means if I've watched enough television that I'm dropping off, then I'd shut off and go to bed. Or if I'm reading a book and I keep nodding off, it's time to turn off my phone and go to bed. And then I can usually fall asleep almost instantly. But if I lay down and think, oh, I think I'll turn in early tonight, then I can just be lying there tossing and turning for an hour or two. So
I was I pulled the chair that I smoke in under the porch because it rained the night before, and I'd been up all night, and it just got to that point where I just like leaned against the siding and fell asleep. Well, it just happened to be the day that the over the road trucker came home, and he shook me awake, and it startled me. I mean, it jump scare type startle. But he was scared as well because before he had me as a roommate, he found the lady that he was caring for dead in her easy chair.
oh my.
So yes, I've endured the 3-day pot stirring, and the cleanup starts tomorrow.
Oh dear. Well,
But like I said, I get to have a project.
just as Simon from the Hermit's Cave comes into the room, we're delving into heavy topics and not on tarot, which is fun. Cosmic Orphan says, late night medicals history now. This sure beats Netflix. I don't know about that.
I'm losing you subscribers, Robin.
Well, I've never been one of those health and well-being channels. Maybe that's what I need to do in the late night hours. But I don't know where else to go with tarot. And I did lay out a 5-card spread just to see if it had anything to say about what we've been talking about. And the first card is the 4 of Wands, which for me is sort of a manner of celebration or gathering.
Yeah,
and we did gather together tonight because we sort of did a surprise last minute pop-up. Then we have the 6 of Pentacles, which is the charity card, which is a little bit of give and take in the communication over what people need, what they don't need, what we need to talk about and share with others. Then I have the 3 of Cups, which is celebratory. It's like, it's nice to get together with people and share your thoughts and feelings. Then we're back to that Queen of Pentacles, who's a little bit like crying over her knee there on the single coin she's got, it's sort of like a little bit of introspection and consideration over, what we're thinking and feeling. And then the last card we have is the Ace of Pentacles, which seems to be handing us a new coin and showing us a path that we might wander down the lane there and see what's there. Hey, or she just popped in. Hello. So I don't know. That's what the cards tell me in this little sequence for the moment. I didn't really put a question out there. King of Swords, what's your comment on that?
King of Swords. We talked, we communicated as knowledgeably as we could.
Mm-hmm. Well, even in ramblings, things come up that are educational. I mean, you introduced me to some other ideas tonight, if I can remember them. What was the one about the
loving cup?
The loving cup. Yeah. Oh, you drew that in a reversal, or you just pulled and put it that way?
I drew it in reversal.
Well, that's funny because I told you at the beginning I woke from a nightmare and then decided, okay, let's do this pop-up. I hope that's not telling me that once I stop and go back to bed, I'm going to have more nightmares. I think because
no.
probably
you're gonna be okay.
Yeah. Well, it was reversed too, so maybe that means no more nightmares.
No man, no matter, yeah, or less.
Yeah. But yeah, oh,
Black
so
gun.
we were for Simon and Orshi who just came in. We were talking about the page of cups and how I never understood the fish in the cup, and people were talking about the symbolism of the fish, and then we were also talking about cups having to do with emotions and why is the cup the symbol for emotions. And I tend to often go to cards through word sayings and stuff, and one of the things I think, was it Thomas or somebody in the chat, I forget which of you now, said loving cup, and I never thought of the page of cups as a loving cup. Oh, we were talking about the Queen of Cups too, and her guarding the cup with the cover on the cup. So I'm really going to think now for a while about the Page of Cups and the Queen of Cups in terms of a loving cup. You know, what love do we share and give? What do we protect or keep to ourselves? What kind of love do we have to give? What do we win in a loving cup with a loving cup? And why do they call it a loving cup? That's what you get in sports, right?
Yeah, the trophy is the trophy with the double handles is the loving cup. So man, woman, take the handles and drink out of it during a ceremony.
So I guess it's sort of a gift of appreciation or love, having won the game or whatever. And then what was the other thing we said? Oh, a fool's
errand.
Fool's errand. So you guys, we're talking about, somebody should start a channel called Fool's Errand about the tarot, about how the journey through the deck from Fool to whatever the last card is. Is it
and
a fool?
Whoever starts that channel can donate $100 to Robin's tarot card fund so he can do 3 more flip throughs. No, you like the more obscure decks, so maybe 2 decks to flip through.
I don't know. I think I'm nearing, I shouldn't even say this, put this out there. I'm nearing the end of my deck collecting because, well, any that I collect now, I have to get rid of some to make space for. But also,
are you satiated?
I kind of am satiated. I think what happened was I've constantly, as a Virgo, I've been looking for the one deck, the best deck for me, the most perfect, the holy grail of decks. That's what I've been looking for and refining my way down. And now I feel like I've kind of got there. I'm hovering around 5 decks that I use, and the rest mostly sit on the shelves. And they're getting better and better at finding the parameters that please me. It has to look right, give the right messages, respond in a way that's productive. It has to feel good, the texture, the card size. Lately, I'm really into sort of playing card size. And there are not that many tarot decks out there that come in that size.
And that's the Stoller is the poker size.
I have a few tarots in a tin, but U.S. Games puts those out, and I don't like the little copyrights on U.S. Game
on
deck.
The cards on the side. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's always some picky little thing that leaves it less than perfect. I have a couple of bridge-sized decks that I got from Make Playing Cards, which are in that top 5. And then, my own first deck that I created is in there. It's about that size. And then the Old Fellow Tarot, the blonde version, which is after the original Keishobu Tarot from Japan. That's in that size. There's one that comes in that size. So those are 2 of my top favorites. And then I recently acquired an out of print deck through someone selling off their collection, and that's from the Little Monsters Tarot. And I had a larger version that I never used because the cards were more like Oracle card size, and I don't like that. And so now I have a perfect size of that. So those are the top three in my collection right now that are, pretty near perfection. And then I also have a Conrad Stain vintage, a CS, not vintage, a CS tarot with the crackle-backs and stuff, and that's in like a bridge or poker size. So in terms of my using RWS, I still love this particular one that I have that's larger, but I think the little ones are easier for me to shuffle and handle, and I love to carry them in a shoulder bag when I go to a cafe or a park. The only problem with reading outside, if you don't have a table, is about all I can manage in my hands is a 3-card spread, but that's okay.
So I have no Oracle decks. I have probably about 10 versions of RWS. This Centennial version.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
It's got the US Games copyright on it, but either they printed the card upside down because the flower petals, all lean one way if you get them all together, but the hangman's petal points the opposite direction.
That's the only one. It's weird.
So I think whoever laid it out on the print sheet thought it was wrong ways, being the hangman. So they turned it around in the printing sheet.
I'm going to check mine. Yours is the 10 one, or is it the full size? I'm going to check mine. Simon, if you got yours handy, check yours. Something I never noticed before. This is not a back that I'm particularly fond of, to tell you the truth. But
it's a Rider-Waite deck, and it is in the area where I think if I get the tools, I can trim it to fit in that card shuffler.
Oh, it's too big for the card shuffler?
Yes, top to bottom too big. Well, poker size cards are wider and shorter than bridge size.
Uh-huh. In most other ways, this is almost the perfect deck. I love the coloring of it. I like the texture and the backgrounds.
Yeah, I like the aqua blues in it.
Even the copyright's not bad. It's so tiny. I've gotten used to it. But I have so many RWSs. It's not right. Actually, this one that I love so much is almost virtually identical to the Smith-Waite Centennial, but no copyrights on these. But this is something a friend did on MPC for me. So
I don't know if this is a bootleg deck or if I'm just that persnickety that I figured that out.
Well, it came in a tin, right? I don't know. I'd be surprised if they bootlegged them in a tin, because that's a whole other element of cost to create something like that. Why can't I find my Hanged Man?
Because he's upside down.
There, found him.
Or right side up. There's slack in his rope. He's standing on the branch now instead of hanging from it.
So you said your card back is upside down? Mine is fine. It must have been shirking off work, not paying attention to what they were doing.
I must have a bootleg deck then.
That's
because
weird.
the five pedals are there's to me they point if you flip it while it's right side up, it points right, and then
Oh,
on the hangman it points left.
see, mine, the top ones all point to the left. That's interesting. I never paid much attention to the backs on these. And I don't usually use reversals, or even if I did use reversals, I don't think I would care if the back was reversible or not. I just
Well,
don't.
speaking of reversals, the 12 Tarot Stash is having me, and we're going to talk reversals because I read reversals.
Oh, I I I like to think that I usually take that into account when I read the upright, that it's sort of an inclusive card that has all those elements, and that if I want a negative or shadow aspect, that I can find those in all the cards, even upright. But I have fallen into a mode where I tend to go towards the positive and not pick up on the negatives or the shadow elements of a card.
Well, that's for a personal in-depth page reading type things that you don't necessarily want aired for everybody on YouTube, I would think.
Hmm. Well, what are you thinking? Should we call it a night?
Yeah, let's call it a night. There's too much oxygen in my smoke system.
In your what? Oh, you're going out on the porch to smoke?
Up,
Oh,
and the stray cat will probably want to come in tonight. It's a little chilly, like 57 in Houston.
I'm going to pull a card to go.
Where to
Oh,
go?
it's a goer. It's the Knight of Wands. It's a goer.
Oh, he's the fiery knight. He's full of
Oh,
passion and creativity and
yeah. I wonder if
some
this card's going to
funky.
keep me awake, or is it going to give me better, more creative, passionate dreams?
Is he the caffeinated knight?
I would say so, or at least the horse is caffeinated. Yeah, it's really charging ahead there. Three pyramids in the background, mysteries, the Night of Mysteries.
Well, we'll have to do the alien dot theory one night.
Yeah, he's got a feather in his cap, so maybe that's a good
He's
place.
whimsical.
Huh?
He's whimsical. That feather.
He is a bit flamboyant. He's got that over drape over the armor with all of the salamanders on it trying to bite their tails.
And that's the salamanders are for I can't remember this
For fire.
for the fire.
Yeah, I never understood that though. Why is that a myth or something that salamanders can live in fire?
Must be. We were talking about the crayfish in the moon card. So
Yeah.
I looked it up, and the crayfish is now I got to come up with the word. The subconscious between the dogs
Yeah,
on the what was moon card
yeah.
yesterday. So you said you could never figure out the crayfish, so I looked it up
And you said it stands for the subconscious,
for the subconscious.
which
So
I'm
ego, super ego.
the fact that it's rising out of the water means it's rising out of the subconscious into the conscious realm.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
You know, we got the wild dog is the lizard brain, and the tame dog is the woke brain.
I wonder why they chose a crayfish, though. Why something where the hard shell is on the outside and the soft bits are inside versus an inner skeleton and an outer soft.
Well, he's still protecting the secrets of, you know, to get to those secrets, you've got to dig deep.
Hmm.
Got to use the lobster cracker.
Maruta says in ancient times, people believed that they were born in fires. That's the salamanders, because fire
Salamanders, okay.
salamanders often hide under logs. And when people gathered those logs to build a fire, salamanders ran out of the flames. Oh, that's interesting. So it's kind of old superstition.
Those old wives.
Old
I would
wives.
like to I would like to get together with Annie Bear and talk about Native American symbology.
In tarot or just in general?
Just in general. Because when I was a child, I had a recurring nightmare, or not a nightmare, just recurring dream. Probably had the dream 7 times when I was around 5 years old. And it was a Native American boy that we played, we ran, we jumped. He showed me how to shoot a bow and arrow, and then when it was done with playtime, he would jump a crevasse, and I could never jump and follow him. I was too afraid. So, you know,
that's deep.
maybe we'd have to talk to a shaman, or
yeah. No pun intended when I said that's deep. I'm gonna let you go and let everybody else go, and you never know when we might be back doing this sometime. It's unpredictable. Thanks for everybody that popped in and those that stayed, and have a great weekend, and we'll see y'all soon.
Thanks, everybody.